Ladies and gentlemen, the story you're about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. These are the cases of ALFsplaining. Evening, Junior Detectivist Ben Baker from Crimes Division here, and here's the Sarge.
Evening all. Hello. What's all this then? Let's be having you, is where I live. Hello. I'm Sergeant John Matthews. I forgot I was not in pop star mode at the moment.
Well, you've been undercover, so I imagine it's quite difficult for you to remember which one you've been undercover for about 25 years, haven't you?
Under the covers, having a nice lie-in.
It's not that kind of podcast. In fact, normally this is ALFsplaining, a show looking at old episodes of Alf and talking about it from a wry British perspective. But the ratings could be better.
They could, and we've been listening to other podcasts, and we've noticed that podcasts that solve crimes do very well.
Yeah.
So we thought we'd repurpose ALFsplaining. We'd reposition. We'd pivot. That's what people say.
Oh, sorry, give me a second. I'm repivoting, Mother. I'm repivoting.
There he goes.
I've repivoted. Thank you.
Stop pivoting now.
Oh.
We've pivoted to being a true crime podcast.
Yes, we are now ALFsplaining mysteries.
I've got my deer stalker. I've got my magnifying glass. And
so I got my pipe there. I think that's basically how the detectives still work now. I don't mean Robert Powell and Jasper Carrot, obviously. Good. So today's episode is Homicide.
Oh, really? Oh, crikey, that sounds worrying.
Well, no, it's actually called Can I Get a Witness?
Oh, right, okay.
It was first aired in America on January 11th, 1988.
Tonight, Alf's on trial.
Objection!
Is he an illegal alien?
He gave him a bribe! I prefer to think of it as an early birthday present. Tonight.
But in Germany, what could that possible criminal procedure be called there?
Yes, in Germany, the episode was called Anwalt in eigener Sache. That's Anwalt in eigener Sache. Let me just remember my my German GCSE there. That translates, viewers, as lawyer in his own case. Justice for all, even aliens. The Ockmonecks window is broken, and Alf, the prime suspect, demands a fair trial.
He does, indeed, and again, all very legal here we'll be going through. We'll be doing all the legal terms here on this new crime podcast, such as affidavit,
injunction,
habeas
corpus.
Sorry, I have to sit down. I've got to pivot again. Sorry.
No,
It's too much.
He's off.
I'm all right.
Hey, we're pivoting all the way to number one in the podcast charts, ladies and gentlemen. We're pivoting all the way.
Oh, I hope so. Because I imagine people listening right now who love crime are already loving how direct and straightforward we are, knowing exactly what we're going to say, fully planned out.
Yeah.
They love it. They love it. So, yes, as I said, this aired in January 1988, and it got 19.8 million viewers on first showing, the 12th of the week between the NBC Sunday movie and some football.
Yeah.
So it said some championship post-game stuff. I don't know. So it's of no interest because it's not crime. The director was Gary Shimakawa again, and Nelson Costello was the writer who previously wrote Come Fly With Me, another Ockmonecks heavy episode. And as you pointed out, this is the trial of the century. So we'll begin with what we call Exhibit A.
Okay.
Also known as Willie Tanner. More animated than we've ever seen him before. He's even got a new Willie's Wardrobe look. Rugby man.
He is pretending to enjoy football, I've written, to get out of doing housework.
Do you think that's the case?
I can't. It must be. I mean, he goes. He's sitting there in front of the telly, going, "Yeah, what a goal!" or whatever.
Super nets.
In the manner of somebody, much like ourselves, who has never seen a game of football in their lives.
I'm not pivoting. I'm not pivoting in sports. I'm not. The rest is Alf. Speaking of whom, he bobs in. Literally, he's just gently. Puppets sometimes move in a sort of up and down fashion, so you see that they're moving. That's what he does here. And he's dressed in a sort of shirt that Richard Herring would wear in the 90s, this kind of peach thing. Well, again, it's only when you notice Alf wearing clothes that you think how weird it is that he's not normally wearing clothes.
It's funny you should say. I scribbled down here, Alf is wearing a flamingo T-shirt for no reason.
No, none at all. Again, unless he's damaged.
Yeah.
And, we know he's damaged, but not like that. So he's interested in the football, and he'd love to watch the football too. But Willie isn't keen.
Oh, Alf, last time we watched football together, you belched all through the whole game.
Hey, that's how we applaud on Melmac. Hey, good catch!
No more applause, please.
All right, I'll just clap.
Yes, more Wacky Wellmac.
Wacky Wellmac. Wacky Wellmac to you.
I went to school with him. Thank you.
Yes.
This is fun. And when he says, all right, I'll just clap, does he mean the actor Flatus? Because it feels like there's something missing there.
Yeah.
Because he says, all right, I'll just clap, and then just starts diving into Willie's popcorn. It's just like, all right.
No, yeah, you're right.
Brian comes in, subtle as ever. But that's a different crime podcast, though, because, again, as you've established, we didn't kill him.
We didn't.
And
you should stop drawing attention to it, because we're going to get in trouble if people do think we did, because,
We didn't.
We should gloss over it.
So Brian wants to play football, and Willie responds in a way so enthusiastic you think he was reading an Alf script. Like, oh, yeah, sure, why not?
Any excuse to get out of pretending to watch football, basically.
He just does what he's told, though. Yeah. Once again, he's the lowest in that household in terms of rank. And Alf burps again, but that wasn't applause this time. He's just a dirty bastard.
Now, this is a good point to drop in Kate's wardrobe this week. She's hovering about in the background. I wrote. She looks like she's off down swinging Carnaby Street to check out the latest winkle pickers. And she's actually dressed. She's dressed like that famous picture of Wilfred Bramble when he looks like some hipster in the 1960s.
Yes, it's a little bit like Big Bird.
Which we will tweet at some point. We'll tweet in comparison when this goes out. The listeners know what we mean, don't they? The listeners are up on all the latest Wilfred news.
Oh, of course. Yeah, but they're all refined
characters,
non-recidivists, so it's fine. Crime podcast, don't forget.
Oh, yeah, weren't we going to solve a crime during this podcast?
Well, you've come up with the idea that Herb, who we met very early on in an Alf episode, was it episode 2 or 3?
It was 2, yeah.
It was episode 2. Willie's workmate has since vanished.
This is it. So we thought we'd try and work out what has happened to Herb, and over the course of the next 40 episodes or whatever we've got left, basically what we can do is solve the mystery of Herb's disappearance and keep the listenership intact throughout that time, and in fact build up a listenership of interested crime solvers who can help us along. It's all for the ratings, basically. It's all for the ratings.
Was it ever not?
Was it ever not thus? Oh, was it not thus?
Do you think I do this for fun?
I thought you committed some terrible crime.
Shh, again, didn't do it.
But, for new listeners, Herb was somebody who worked in Willie's office at the social services department. And in episode 2, Willie was phoned up to say that a computer had crashed and he had to go in and reboot it or something because Herb couldn't do it on his own, thus leaving Alf alone in the house, and chaos ensued. We saw Herb briefly in a non-speaking role, sort of pottering around in the background whilst Willie was in his office.
But you know what? He didn't speak, but he spoke to our hearts. He drew us in with his magnetic presence. And ever since then, we have been bereft.
We've not seen him since. We've seen other workers in Willie's office. and there's been a mysterious sighting that we may come to later.
Ooh.
We may return to this. We've got to keep the listeners. We've got to keep the listeners going, you see. We've got to keep them listening. And if we tease them with the idea that there's been a mysterious sighting of her in another episode, then maybe they'll continue listening to this one.
I mean, it's fair. It's a good system because, again, I don't know what's going on. So if you don't know either as well, listeners, that makes it all the more...
It's exciting, isn't it? It's exciting.
On. No, exciting, that's the word. I'm looking for. Not on.
Back to the episode.
So everyone's been playing the old sports ball outside, and it's ended very quickly. Brian says the game was called on account of Alf. And you get quite a nice little double act here between Willie and Brian talking about all of, I'll put in the clip, but Alf's got some wacky ideas about football.
Yeah, first he sat on the sidelines, spat into his helmet.
Then he said we weren't playing right.
Yeah, he sent Brian off in a very complicated pass pattern. He told him to slant left, button hook, hop up and down, put on a disguise.
Dig a hole.
Dig a hole, right. Stay in it until Groundhog's Day.
Then do the hokey pokey and turn myself around.
Yeah, turn yourself around.
And I thought that was great. I liked very much dig a hole and stay in it until Groundhog Day.
Well, no, actually, that's not what they said. They said Groundhog's Day.
Hog's Day.
And Groundhog's Day. Before the Bill Murray film, it was known as Groundhog's Day, apparently. Which I was contemplating making my pop culture reference of the week.
A further mystery, then.
Oh, add it to the list.
Yeah, add it to the list.
Will we search Groundhog's Day?
The missing apostrophe S.
I've made a note.
Just good.
Rest assured, listeners, we will get to the bottom of this. And any other mysteries you want us to solve. If there are any mysteries you want us to solve, please email us, ALFsplaining@yahoo.com, and we will solve your problems.
Oh, have a look at it for free. That's the least you could do. Same with gynecology. I'm not an expert, but etc.
And so forth.
So Alf throws the old pig's ball through the kitchen window and into the crockery because he's a bell end. And I don't know if you noticed it, but there are a few lines in this scene that feel really awkwardly sort of added in later on, like ADR'd in after.
Really? I didn't notice that. No.
There's a different tone to what Alf's saying.
Right.
It might be just that they didn't pick up properly. But, he also could have been doing his terrible views and probably bagging on about the IRA or something again. It's possible. It's possible.
What happened? Did we score?
It was intercepted by my dinnerware.
What do you expect when you leave plates in the end zone?
So we cut to later on in the evening, and I love how sometimes, you can just set up a scene. You don't need to say many words. You just simple, direct ideas.
Yeah.
Like Lynn here saying, great meal, Mom. What's for dessert? So, see, we've already learned that they've had some food.
The mystery is where Willie and Brian are because they've scarpered, leaving their plates behind. And so there was not enough exposition to clarify that situation. But nevertheless, it was a solid start to a simple scene, and well done them.
But Alf is very dismissive of this because you can't have dessert until all the other food's been served.
And it has. It has been served. And Alf wanted more.
One measly ham. Terrible. And I genuinely think Alf might be at his worst here. He's genuinely, he's being actually rude to people. It's very odd. And he's been out playing with the football, and Kate's very worried that he's trampled a flower garden.
So she inspects his mighty hooves at the dinner table.
Yeah, which do swing out rather right fluidly for the puppetry and everything. You wouldn't think twice because, spoilers, he don't walk around unless he's a small person, and he's not a small person there.
No,
unless they've got an even smaller person in each foot. But I don't think it's likely.
A small person in every limb. That's what we want from Alf.
That was his election promise. Yes. His feet are covered in flowers because he tiptoed through the tulips and demolished the daisies.
It's a good bit.
So the doorbell goes. Another mystery. Who could it be? But we'll find out. It's Raquel. But they don't say, Alf, get out of it, like they normally do, because they all tell him to get in the kitchen. He's already in the kitchen, so it's just like, fair enough. And Raquel comes in with the football, which she says went through their large picture window.
I'll get your checkbook. Oh, no, that's all right. Raquel, just send us the bill.
Fine. But please speak to Brian. Criminal behavior should be nipped in the bud.
Criminal behavior?
Breaking windows today could lead to robbing banks tomorrow.
Brian, a bank robber?
Al Capone was a good boy until he broke my grandfather's window. Of course, he pushed my grandfather through it, but the result was the same.
Yeah, so again, more crime. Al Capone. You know, imagine him and Alf having adventures. They'd have a right laugh, wouldn't they?
Was Al short for Alf?
Oh, Alf Gordon Capone. That was his full name. I'm fairly sure. Friends called him Gordo.
We'll look that up.
So, they agree to punish Brian. Obviously, it's not Brian, but
There was a bit in that, all that business about paying for the window. Willie gets his wallet out and starts counting out the money and says it was a big picture window. So he says, we'll send you a check. And Kate goes, no, just send us the bill. And it seemed a long scene for a very simple thing. Oh, we'll pay for your window. That's out of the way.
It was literally just a conversation that was happened to be filmed.
No, nothing happened for a considerable period of time. Alf comes in then, apologetic for crushing Kate's flowers by having picked the flowers off his feet and putting them in a can of pop. He says at that point he washed them in Desonex, which is a medication used to treat a variety of fungal skin infections such as ringworm, athlete's foot, and jock itch.
Delicious.
That is why Alf has Desonex to hand, because of his jock itch.
Need relief from athlete's foot?
Feel the Desonex difference.
And there is a difference, because medicated Desonex does more than just cure athlete's foot. Want cooling, soothing relief?
Feel the Desonex difference.
Desonex soothes burning feet, cools tender feet. Want relief from cracked, itchy feet?
Feel the Desonex difference.
Desonex relieves itching, gives real foot comfort, and used daily, Desonex helps prevent reinfection. Feel the Desonex difference.
So I love the fact that she goes, it smells like feet. I mean, good. And then this, Willie says, Alf, where's our football? And Alf goes,
Behind your back.
This is good gag. So obviously they're accusing him because it's like, well, it has to be Alf. He was taking about with the ball out there. And it's a month without television, which is a proper classic sitcom punishment, isn't it?
Exactly how they can stop Alf from watching television without them themselves not watching television at the same time. Because surely he can just wander in the background and look at whatever they're watching. So it's not much of a punishment, basically.
No, he's not going in his cage.
No, he's not going in his cage.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure. He insists on his innocent because he knows what smashing sounds are like, and he heard none. So even though he kicked the ball over the fence, that's all he's claiming to, Your Honour.
That sounded like it's a good defence as far as I can, because he admitted he's broken things in the past. He admitted he knows what glass breaking sounds like, and he confesses he didn't hear any glass breaking when he kicked the ball. And that's a pretty solid defence, I think.
Now, I must admit, we're going to find out that there was actually a broken glass, because I thought at first the end bit was going to be actually he didn't and there wasn't a broken glass. She was just trying it on. But no, there is a broken window, but we'll get to that. As another Memorex reference to Ella Fitzgerald's glass-breaking voice, which we've had already in this series.
Well, you see, this is the thing. Alf was trying to come up with explanations as to what might have happened to the window, and Ella Fitzgerald breaking it with a singing voice. I was going to make that my pop culture reference of the week, but we've already made Ella Fitzgerald our pop culture reference in the past.
Yeah.
They're really going for the Ella Fitzgerald crowd in this sitcom.
Yeah.
But Alf's second explanation was that Doug Henning came over and accidentally levitated Trevor. I'm not entirely sure we heard the end of Alf's supposition there, because Willie barged in and told him to shut the fuck up. Doug Henning is my pop culture reference of the week. He was a Canadian magician, illusionist, escape artist, and politician. So, he'd have his own specials throughout the 70s and things like that. He was one of those old school magicians with the hair and the sideburns and the moustache. But the interesting thing about him was that in 1992, Doug was, bearing in mind he's a Canadian, Doug was a Natural Law Party candidate in the United Kingdom's general election. He contested the parliamentary constituency of Blackpool South in Lancashire.
No.
He did not win. I believe he came 4th out of 4.
Blimey, Charlie.
But Doug Henning stood for the Natural Law Party with those famous yogic flying ones from the 90s. You remember them.
Well, it's George Harrison, something to do with them.
Yeah, they were just hovering about on Nationwide or whatever.
During this election, you've heard a lot about yogic flying and the experience of bubbling bliss. That's because 7,000 yogic flyers could create a perfect government with the ability to satisfy everyone. All of our national problems are basically caused by stress. And the best antidote is transcendental meditation and 7,000 yogic flyers, which can eliminate stress in the whole country, create an integrated national consciousness, and prevent problems. For a perfect government, vote the Natural Law Party.
But yeah, Blackpool South, he contested.
Wow.
For some reason.
Well, it's a magic kind of place, isn't it? There's lots of gypsies.
Oh, yeah, Gypsy Rose Bollocks.
Yep, that's she's there. She felt your presence, and which I asked her to leave the Christmas party. So there's an odd bit here because they go, I want a trial, I want a proper trial because some believe he's innocent, some believe he's guilty, and Willie goes, okay, I'll be the judge, and I was like, no, I want a fair trial. And Lynn goes, well, what about if Kate's the judge? And at this point they turn round to her and she's sort of bent over doing something at the table, and Alf and Brian seem to spend a few seconds looking at her ass.
Well, this is the joke, isn't it? The joke is they hesitate, and then Alf says, I'd accept her without hesitation. But the awkward positioning of Kurt's torso and the awkward gaze of Alf and Brian is it kind of distracts you from the gag.
And Alf seems to know a lot about the legal system. He's got a lot of terms to throw around.
Oh yeah,
clearly he's watched a lot of telly.
This was like the episode a few weeks ago where we became a monk. It was a basic excuse for the writers to throw a load of religious gags in the mix, and it's the same with this one. They've got their big law dictionary out, and they're throwing in words and phrases and jokes willy-nilly, as it were.
William and Nilliam. It's true. So Kate is going to be the judge, and she's ready to go, and he's like, hey, I need a bit of time to prepare my big legal case, which you think is going to be a thing we're going to see. But we don't, because it's the next day.
Yeah, after breakfast, yes. But no, we changed the scene at this point. Now, there's another mystery in this that happens, and all the colour went for some reason from the episode. It suddenly became very desaturated, the entire episode. Did you notice that?
No, not really.
It was glorious Technicolor, and then suddenly, this next scene, it was very grey and miserable. I don't know if they were deliberately trying to make it more of a court setting, but or whether it was a technical error. I don't know.
Well, because see, I was distracted by the nice new crimey sort of sting.
Oh, yeah.
Hear ye! Court is now in session. Honorable Judge Mom presiding.
It plays in at the start as we pan over Exhibit A, which is the football, and Exhibit B, which is a box of broken glass. Which, again, proves that there was an actual broken window, but did they go around and pick up the glass? And
what did Trevor and Raquel think was happening when they were there picking up the broken glass?
Yeah.
Do you think they were going to glue it together and give it back to them to avoid paying for it?
Yeah, it's very odd. And where's Alf? Here he comes. F. Lee Shumway, says Willie. And I've looked this up. This was Francis Lee Bailey Jr., basically known as one of the greatest lawyers of the 20th century.
Oh.
He was involved in all sorts of high-profile cases. Boston Strangler, Patty Hearst, and O.J. Simpson, who was on the dream team of him, apparently, for the defence. So, well-known lawyer who died in 2021. So I'm sure he was watching this going, I love that guy. Damn South. So, yeah, that was Willie did a clever joke, a very Willie sort of joke.
It was a very wry aside, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, very much so. Alf's in one of Willie's suits again. Well, we assume again, the Wayne Schlegel thing. We've never been entirely sure.
Nah.
But he comes out in one of Willie's suits, which is ironic because Willie is back dressed as a homeless fisherman.
A Trapper Dan, I wrote.
Yep, either or. He's like, it looks like he's going out for some fishing, and I don't know why, but Willie is the prosecution, and he has a lot of damning evidence on Alf's general dickery, because, of course he has. And a lot of the things he lists are real things that happen in actual episodes, isn't it?
This is a wonderful scene, because they give their opening statements, which Willie says something like, the window broke, Alf did it. And Alf says, Alf starts at the beginning of time with Adam and Eve eating the apple and stuff like that. But then Willie says, and you might want to press this in, but I'll do my best attempt. What we have here is a broken window and defended with a long history of reckless behavior, starting with the day he crashed his spaceship into our garage. Which Alf says, yeah, name 12 more. And Willie, to his credit, does.
He set a fire in the camper. He chopped up our Christmas tree. He wrecked the toaster. He ripped that painting. He dug up the backyard. He stole a car. He buried my piano. I think that's the thing that hurt me the most. He got me arrested. He used our credit cards excessively and illegally. He short-circuited the television. He terrorized the cat, and he blew up the kitchen. So it's not hard to imagine that such a person could, and in fact did, kick a football through the Ockmonecks window.
Brilliant!
So yeah, they're all real things happening, except for burying his piano.
Oh, yes!
Which is the one that upsets him the most, as we've just heard.
I absolutely love that. They just threw it in. The idea, and you think, oh, there's a great lost episode of Alf somewhere where he buries the piano. No reason.
Again, though, you go, yeah, of course he did. Of course he did. You don't blink for a second because Alf is a terrible man.
Terrible man.
Terrible man. I liked Alf calling Willie an ambulance chaser.
And I enjoyed him then withdrawing the slur on his profession almost immediately. There's some great bits here. The episode is rolling extremely well at this point, I think.
All this, again, is top Willie for me. It's Willie's loving his little role here as a prosecution. Ella Fitzgerald comes up again, and Willie has actually gone and checked out where Ella Fitzgerald was on the day in question.
How he did this without the internet, I don't know. I mean, but so good work, William.
And Alf says, all right, what about Beverly Sills?
Okay.
Had you heard of Beverly Sills?
No, never.
An operatic soprano, big in the 50s, 60s and 70s. Her voice was variously described as rich, supple, silvery, precise.
Much like myself.
A little light, multicoloured, robust, enveloping,
crikey,
and with a cutting edge that can slice through the largest orchestra and chorus, soaring easily above high C.
Oh, well.
And I looked where she probably was at the time in question, and she was working for the New York City Opera at the time where she was director. So I think we can rule her out. But again, she's another person who could break glass with her voice.
Oh, yeah. We're doing a crime episode, aren't we? I'd forgotten. Right. The listeners have been hanging on long enough to find out when we saw Herb again. Or did we?
Did we?
Yes, we did. Or did we? If we now flash back to the episode Going Out of My Head Over You, when Willie went mental, he went to see Larry, the psychiatrist, and as he was waiting in the waiting room, a man came out of Larry's office, a large man of some stature with a horrible jumper on, and from certain angles, it looked like it might be Herb.
It did.
We did a compare and contrast.
We fed it all into the computer.
We reckoned that was Herb, who may now be in witness protection. It wasn't explicit that he was in witness protection. That's our interpretation of events.
Yeah, obviously, but we have to give something. It can't just be reciting the facts and assuming people understand. We've got to do some work.
He didn't acknowledge Willie as he came out of Larry's office. He may have been embarrassed about being there. So it may have been he had a breakdown from the stress of having to work with Willie. And that's why he didn't acknowledge him, and Willie was too embarrassed to say hello.
It's very fair.
Back to the plot, everybody. Back to the plot.
Lynn is called as a surprise witness, which I think is just there so Alf can go, surprise! And she says an interesting thing at this point. She says she's known the defendant, a.k.a. Alf, for about a year.
That's what we'd roughly worked out, but the timeline does seem to have gone all over the place this year, so it's nice to have something nailed down there.
Yeah, well, I'm going to say I think it would be closer to 18 months, but at least a year. So, again, we've been often wondering about the timeline, so that kind of gives us a little bit more to work with, I suppose.
The show is existing in real time, is what we know.
As we seem so. And she gets the best joke of the entire episode.
Yeah.
Would you say that the defendant has any saintly qualities?
Well, he resembles a Saint Bernard.
Although he doesn't resemble a St. Bernard, but I love it. I love that joke. It made me laugh a lot.
It's still good.
And understandably, Kate finds Alf guilty, which means no TV for a month. And so when we get to the next scene, Alf's in his laundry hole, the bit where he's by the dryer, where he's in a basket, we sometimes see, acting out the Golden Girls.
So, Blanche, who are you going to sleep with tonight? Everybody.
Oh, he's doing it like with his hand, like your hand puppet things as the mouths, and he's really quite savage about the quality of the Golden Girls, making fun of them, which I enjoyed enormously because it means we can sort of make a bit of fun of Alf, and he can't really, the man himself, Alf, can't really criticise us for making fun of his sitcom if he makes fun of other sitcoms, if you see what I mean.
I do see what you mean. I do.
Found out that sentence before I started saying it, and I regretted halfway through that I wasn't making any sense. So apologies to everybody.
Well, I can tell you the Golden Girls was indeed on Saturday nights at 9 p.m. on NBC, of course, and several ratings positions above Alf, which probably explains why there's a few little cheeky digs there. But then Alf says to turn over to my most impenetrable pop culture reference of the week.
Oh, this is exciting.
As he decides to watch Dance Fever.
Right.
This was a syndicated show, also on Saturday nights, which ran from 1979 to 1987. So it was, I think it actually finished by the time this episode had gone out. It was basically a dance competition, which basically Saturday Night Fever came, and so they went, let's have a disco dancing competition, and you could win prizes and stuff.
Be sure to join me, Denny Terrio, on Dance Fever for all the dynamite disco action, with couples competing for cash and prizes worth over $75,000. Many of your favorite stars will be on hand to judge the competition. Some of the exciting stars will be Waylon and Madam, Deborah Lee Scott, Catherine Bach, Greg Evigan, Ron Glass, Ben Vereen, Shields and Yarnell, and Wolfman Jack. That's Dance Fever. Catch it.
Tonight at 7:30 on 11 Alive.
And that was a syndicated show. And as far as I can tell, that was mostly on Saturday night. So this is a Saturday night, and Alf, his references are all on point.
Good, yeah.
And again, it would make sense why everyone's in the house. For one episode, we actually know where it is. Which is impressive. And to recreate Dance Fever, Alf has put some dolls on a washing line. And it's odd. Lynn has walked in and she believes him. She believes that Alf didn't do it. And they have a little chat. And it's nice because, again, I just love the dynamic between these two characters. She's funny.
They seem to be genuine friends as well. Brian is supposed to be the one who's Alf's friend. They can pal around playing football or whatever, but they never seem to do anything together these days.
No, because he's shit.
But Lynn and Alf seem to have bonded. She's the only one who believes he was innocent as well. And trusted in his honesty.
And we are going to find out, in fact, that he was innocent. As ding dong, Mr. Trevor Ockmonecks standing for ovation, applause, beautiful. He comes round.
It's not a yo Tanners kind of.
No, he looks very shamed.
He does. He's downcast.
He is, and he's coming around because he broke the window. Just trying to relive his glory years as a footballsman.
He comes in, he says, I'd like to speak to Brian and apologise that they blamed you for breaking the window. Now, I don't think anybody actually told Brian that he had been blamed for breaking the window.
No, he does seem very surprised.
So, it's all well and good blaming Brian for breaking the window, but you got to tell him in case, somebody challenges him about it. But yeah, poor old Trevor there, talking about the 7 years he played football in high school.
Yeah.
And how Willie goes, you must have been very good.
Yeah.
At football.
I mean, yeah, it's the whole thing. And Raquel was a cheerleader and stuff. And there's a lot here which just suggests that they're still a loving couple. They love each other very much, which I liked a great deal. But there's a reason why he's come round.
I didn't find out till this morning she blamed him. And then when I saw I'm innocent spray painted on your bathroom window, I figured I'd better fess up. I'm sorry, little guy.
It's okay, big guy.
Oh, by the way, Brian, there's only one S in innocent.
See, he's a good man. He's a good man. I love the fact that he goes, all right, we'll go halves on the break-in.
And Willie believes him instantly.
Yeah.
He believes instantly that's what would happen.
Yeah. He goes, no, it's on me.
It's on me. Beautiful, perfect line.
Yeah, again, in and out, no bother.
He did say he crouched down to speak to Brian. He said, "I'm sorry, little guy," and Brian sort of goes, "It's okay, big guy," with a big grin on his face, which is quite a good line, I thought, and delivered quite well because it felt like Brian had absolutely utter contempt for Trevor when he said that.
You do get that impression, don't you?
Yeah, all right, big guy, now piss off.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. which I enjoyed. So, yeah, an episode with a good line delivery by Brian is never wasted.
Indeed. It's almost a crime of his own.
Oh, yes.
So they say, we better apologise to Alf. But before we get there, we hear him breaking more shit off screen. And again, we don't know why or what. It's just, well, that's it. That's the funny coda to that scene. And so we have a final little bit where Willie returns from work to Alf watching
3 TVs.
Again, I don't know if he's where they're from.
No. You could have sneaked one of these TVs into his basket whilst they were all out of the room, and he could have circumnavigated his 30-day ban.
Isn't it just, again, it's very odd. So that because he had ban TV, he now has to follow the TV because he's guilt-tripping the Tanners about accusing him. And Alf calls Willie a strange new nickname.
Yeah, we've been going through a few of these recently, and this is an odd one that doesn't really seem to make a great deal of sense.
No.
At long last, Will D. Beast.
Alf, how long are you going to push this guilt trip on me?
I was thinking till after Christmas.
Think again.
It's not as good as Kate Mandu.
No. That was lovely.
We're out. We're done.
Yeah.
That's the end. And crime, is not on the menu for this one. I think this was it wasn't a classic episode by any stretch, but I think it was surprisingly good.
It was solid. It was tight. They had an idea. They went with it. They stuck with it, and the episode is pretty solid and good. I enjoyed it.
It doesn't have to be Alf as an alien for this particular one to work.
No, other than having to pretend it was somebody else who broke the window, and that was that was really it, wasn't it? Yeah.
But it does. We have a character who is a big old dickhead, and so I mean, obviously, it fits rather neatly with the Alf character. So I didn't really feel any sort of aggrievement there.
No.
I'll remains his MVP really, and you know what? I've given it to Lynn.
So have I.
Because
so have I.
There aren't many funny lines, but she gets them all.
And she shows concern and compassion for Alf. She believes him. She trusts his defence, i.e. I do break a lot of things, but I didn't break this thing.
Yeah.
Why would he say that if he'd done it,
I genuinely think, she's become my favourite character, outside Trevor, obviously.
Yeah.
You know what? I think she could be a good suspect for the disappearance of her, because we'd never suspect. And have you noticed her hair is getting bigger with every episode?
Do you think she's ingested the essence of herb and it's causing her to sprout further hair from her bonds?
I just assumed she was hiding him in there.
Oh, right. Okay, fair enough.
She's going very Marge Simpson as we go. It's getting more and more Buffon.
That's not a bad shout, actually. And I think in the next week I'm going to investigate that significantly, and we'll come back to it. We'll pivot back to this. Oh no!
So I'm back. And if you'd like to pivot to our social medias with your suggestions of where you think Herb is, we're at ALFsplaining on X and Blue Sky and Instagram. And if you want some extra,
I do.
Get to Patreon, patreon.com/ALFsplaining extra. We need the money to keep this case going. Them upstairs, they're trying to stop us. They're busting our asses. And the DA,
David Attenborough.
Danger House. Danger House.
Derek Akora.
Yes, that's him. So keep your nose clean. And until next time we see you, evening out. And I did a little bend of my knees there, so you did.
Oh, I'm not doing that. Not at my age.
I want this case thrown out of court.
Why?
Because I'm losing.